Today's Wednesday Word Lab, where we are going to work with the seeds of perspective. So, what's important about perspective? It's really so much a big part of building rapport in sales and influence and persuasion. And you've heard the saying before, probably perception is projection. Being able to understand a person's perspective allows for so much understanding, empathy, compassion, and the ability then to shift potentially a conversation or an outcome. So if we can shift the angle, we can change the outcome, right? So when clients or agents like yourselves get stuck, you're usually looking through a single lens, your own lens, right? And perspective questions are going to pull you out or pull your client out of that emotional position that they're in and allow more space, more opportunity, more possibility for them to consider. And this is important. Can you imagine what the world would be like in the United States if the two political parties could do this more effectively? Wow, we might not have to shut the government down as we just came out of a mess. So this is going to create, understanding seeds of perspective and where a person is, where their model of the world is. It's going to allow us to help create clarity, not only for ourselves and understanding for where they are, but for one another, which will allow cooperation to exist and a better ability to make decisions and consider all sides of the table, both sides of the table. So I'm sure by now you can see why this is so critical in sales, in influence. So as a realtor, as an entrepreneur, this is critical for your mastery. So today's seed is perspective. And I'm glad you're still here and hanging out till the end of our quarter, our 13 seeds, so that you can collect your deck from this collection of the Word Lab. So the pattern we're looking at here today is perceptual positions. So when a deal is stalling, a conversation is getting rigid and it's hitting one another, 9 times out of 10, it's because somebody in the equation is stuck in their viewpoint. I know you've had this happen and it's incredibly frustrating. And so our job as salespeople, as realtors, as entrepreneurs, is to help people widen their perspective, widen their frame, if you will. We're not manipulating, we're just highlighting, we're illuminating the exposure, if you will. So now in perceptual positions, there are 3 perspectives, 3 angles of lens that we'll be looking through. So let's start with the first, which is self-perspective. That's looking and seeing things through your own position, your own eyes, and asking yourself, what am I not seeing? This angle is bringing awareness to your own biases when you ask yourself that question. What am I not seeing? What am I afraid of here as I work through this situation? Or what assumptions am I making about the other party, the buyer, the seller, the other agent on the other end of the deal? And we're asking ourselves through our own lens all of these questions. So let's go through some specific real estate examples that I think you'll find intriguing. So asking yourself, if I imagine being 6 months further down the road, how would I look back at this decision about price? Imagine how this might help your client. If you imagine yourself 6 months further down the road, how would you look back at your current decision about taking this price change, not taking this price change? And get their answer, right? Extract their position on this. And you're helping them by having them ask the question and they're seeing it through their self-perspective, their self-lens. And you're getting to hear and understand their current model of the world. So what part of this situation might you be overvaluing or undervaluing right now? Another great question. What part of the situation might you be overvaluing or undervaluing right now? If you were to take the emotion out for just a second, what becomes very clear for you? Ooh, yeah, we're just asking them to shed all of that emotion for just a minute and pay attention. What might be different? So here's a scenario for you where a seller is overpricing. Ever had that happen before? I know you have. Very frustrating, makes your job incredibly difficult. And then they start shopping other agents or think you're doing a lousy job and want you to do more open houses. You know the drill, you know the story. So in a seller overpricing situation, if you picture yourself already moved and into your next place, just imagine that. Just imagine that for a minute. You've moved into your next place, your next space, and what would you have wished you did with the current price today, right now? So what you're doing in this example is you're future pacing your client. You're taking them out into the future where they're like, oh yeah. And then you bring them back to a flashback of where they are today in reality, and they go, oh yeah, goodness, right now is painful, challenging, frustrating, irritating, all the showings, all the interruptions, all the house cleaning I have to do, etc., etc., etc. All of the giant pain and the inconvenience. But when I fast forward and future pace into the future, roughly a few 90 days or so, and see my new position, my new way of life, everything's clean and organized, and we're just living our lives, not having to take into consideration being on the market and trying to secure the best price possible, it allows them to come back into today's moment and look through a different lens. So it also keeps their mission, their priority front and center.